everyone, welcome to Current Affairs for Beginners. First we'll see the answer for the question from our yesterday's video. With regard to synthetic fibers, consider the following statements. Synthetic fibers like wool, nylon and polyester lead to microplastic pollution. Here the first statement is incorrect because wool is not a synthetic fiber, it is a natural fiber. The next one is, unlike the biosynthetic fibers, they are non-biodegradable. Yes, these synthetic fibers are non-recyclable and non-biodegradable. So, only statement 2 is correct here. The answer is B. Now, let's start our today's session. These are all the topics that we are going to cover in our today's video. Our first article is, Cabinet approves new National Electronics Policy. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance. The Union Cabinet has approved a new National Electronics Policy. This policy is aimed to position India as a global hub for electronics system design and manufacturing by encouraging and driving the capabilities in the country for developing core components like chipsets and creating an enabling environment for the electronics industry to compete in the global market. Some of the objectives of this policy are to create ecosystem for globally competitive electronic system design and manufacturing sector and promote the domestic manufacturing and export in the entire value chain of this ESDM. It is one of the features of this policy. I have clearly listed down what are all the objectives of this policy in our core video notes. Please do refer to it. And the targets under this new policy are to promote domestic manufacturing and export in the entire value chain of this ESDM sector to achieve a turnover of 400 billion US dollars, which is approximately 26 lakh crores according to Indian rupees by 2025. This is a target under this new policy. The next article is, Ordinance to curb Ponzi schemes get nod. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance. So what is this Ponzi scheme? A Ponzi scheme is an investment fraud where the clients were promised a large profits within a short time without any risk involved in it. The companies that were engaged in a Ponzi scheme will mainly focus in attracting new clients to make investments. So what these companies they used to do is, they used to pay the original investors who have invested in the starting their returns from the new investments. The new income that now they have got, they used to use this to pay the old customers, which is shown as a profit from legitimate transaction. These Ponzi schemes, they work mainly on a constant flow of new investments to continue to provide returns to their older investments. But when the new investments were stopped, when this flow runs out, the scheme will fall apart because now they don't have any income to repay to their original investors or the old investors. So this is an investment fraud, and this Ponzi scheme will not fall under any regulatory purview. It is not regulated by any authority, not even under the SEBI. And the state government is considered as the enforcement agency. These Ponzi schemes, they were banned under Price Chit and Money Circulation Act of 1978. Though it is a central government act, but the respective state governments were also the enforcement agencies of this law. Recently, the government has passed a bill which is known as Banning of Unregulated Deposit Schemes Bill. So now the government has promulgated an ordinance with regard to that bill to protect the investors from these Ponzi schemes, which is an investment fraud. The next article is 3% Dearness allowance hike for central staff. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy. So what is meant by this Dearness allowance? Dearness allowance is a cost of living adjustment that is paid to the government employees and pensioners, that is who are already the government employees who are getting pension by the government. This is also calculated as a component of basic salary. So to put it simply, this Dearness allowance is nothing but it is the amount paid by the government to its employees and also its pensioners in order to make them or help them to avoid the impact of inflation. Inflation means when there is a general level of rise in prices of certain goods and services, that situation is known as inflation. So in order to help the government employees and its pensioners from facing the heat of this inflation, the government will provide certain amount along with the basic pay, that is known as Dearness allowance. At present, the Dearness allowance percentage is 9% of basic pay. Out of the basic salary, 9% extra will be paid as Dearness allowance. Now it has increased it by 3% more. The next article is government provides more for midday meal costs. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance. From this article, we should know what is this midday meal scheme. This midday meal scheme is a school meal program by the government of India, which is designed to improve the nutritional status of school age children across the nation. Under the Convention on Rights of Children, to which India is also a party, India has committed to provide adequate nutritious foods for children. The main objective of this scheme is to attain the goal of universalization of primary education. So who administers this scheme in the country? It is the Department of School Education and Literacy under the Ministry of Human Resource Development will monitor this scheme in order to enhance nutritional levels among the children. This scheme will cover all the children who are studying in class from 1 to 8. This program will supply free lunches on working days for the children in upper primary as well as in primary classes in the government aided, local body, education guarantee scheme and alternate innovative education centers like madrasas, maktabs that were supported by Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan and National Child Labour Project schools that were run by the Ministry of Labour. This midday meal scheme is covered under the National Food Security Act of 2013. So what are the benefits of this scheme? This scheme will promote the participation of child in school, especially in the disadvantaged sections, that is the girls, Dalits and Adivasis. They can come to school because at least they'll get a meal for a day. And this will reduce the classroom hunger and promote better learning and facilitate the healthy growth of a child. And it will lead to the better enrollment and retention of children in schools. And this will also foster social and gender equality, as all the children will get same food and they must eat together, and it will boost female attendance in the school. This will provide nutritional support to children in drought affected areas even during summer vacation. The next article is Center launches panic button on mobiles. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance, and here the subtopic is issues related to women. 2 days ago, the Ministry of Women and Child Development has launched three important initiatives on women's safety, out of which one is this panic button. In 2015 itself, the Ministry of Telecom has made it mandatory for all the mobile phone manufacturers and mobile telephony service providers to include a physical panic button on all the mobile phones in the country, so that such a panic button will be backed by an emergency response mechanism through the local police when this panic message alerts the specified family members of a woman who is in distress situation. When and all this emergency response will be triggered. There are 4 modes when this emergency response system will be triggered. The first one is on the smartphones, the power button when it is pressed 3 times quickly, and by dialing 112 from any phone, and in case of feature phones, long press of the touch key 5 or 9 and using this 112 India mobile app. The emergency message that comes out from any of these will trigger a response from the emergency response center through a team of trained personnel who can handle emergency requests of various types and get the necessary relief services launched. The next article is Interim Bailout. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy. In our yesterday's video, we have already seen what is meant by this interim dividend, but now let me tell you it in brief again. What is this interim dividend? Interim dividend is a payment made during the course of a financial year, and RBI is a full service central bank. While carrying its functions or operations, it will make profits, which it will transfer to the government according to the guidelines, which is known as Economic Capital Framework. And the central bank will also transfer its surplus to the government according to section 47, which talks about allocation of surplus profits of the Reserve Bank of India Act. So now, what are these guidelines and what is this economic capital framework? This framework refers to the risk capital acquired by the central bank, that is the Reserve Bank of India, while taking into account different risks. Nothing but yesterday we have said that it will keep a certain amount that is known as capital reserves aside in order to meet the contingencies, that is the unexpected or the different risks that might arise unexpectedly. This capital framework will reflect the capital an institution requires or needs to hold as a counter against any unforeseen risks or events or losses in the future, which is nothing but a capital reserve. So, who will say that how much amount, what is the volume of that capital reserves RBI can hold? It is these guidelines, that is the economic capital framework. It will tell this volume of capital reserves should be held by RBI. So, in order to review this economic capital framework, the Reserve Bank of India has constituted a committee headed by the Reserve Bank of India's former governor Bimal Jalan to review this economic capital framework. Even this panel was formed after many differences between the government and the central bank over the reserves that were held by this Reserve Bank of India. Next article is the new angel tax rules provide relief to eligible startups. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy. Dear students, on 5th February, that is in this month, I have very clearly explained in detail about this. What is a startup? Who are angel investors? And what is this angel tax? And how it is calculated? What are the methods that will be applied to calculate this angel tax? And also what are the new rules that were proposed by the government in order to exempt some of the startups from this angel tax? Those all were there in detail on 5th February core video. You can refer to that video for all these details. The next article is GST Council to discuss realty rates. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy. In this article, there is a topic known as input tax credit. What is meant by this input tax credit? We can understand this input tax credit when we take the words separately. One is input and the other one is tax credit. Inputs are the materials or the services that a manufacturer will purchase in order to manufacture his product or services, whichever is his output. Whereas tax credit means it is the tax a producer will be able to reduce while paying his output tax. So together this input tax credit means when a manufacturer pays the tax on his output, he can deduct the tax he previously paid on the input he purchased. While paying the tax on his output, he can deduct or take credit for the tax he paid while purchasing inputs. So let us understand this with an example. For example, let us take a manufacturer known as A. And this manufacturer is manufacturing shirts. And to manufacture a shirt, he need cotton. Let it be a cotton shirt, which is his input. The cotton is his input and his output is a shirt. And he has purchased this cotton at 100 rupees, which is his input. And for this purchase, he has paid the CGST, that is Central Goods and Services Tax, at the rate of 10%. So he paid 10 rupees as tax. So the price of this input, that is cotton, is 110 rupees. Now the manufacturer will sell his product. He added value to the cotton and he manufactured a shirt, which is his output. Now he wants to sell this product at 200 rupees plus tax. Now the GST rate of this shirt is 12%. Here the manufacturer must pay a tax of 24 rupees, but he has already paid a tax of 10 rupees. For the amount he had invested 100 rupees, he had paid 10 rupees tax. So he can claim this 10 rupees tax which he has already paid, and he has to pay only remaining 14 rupees tax. This 10 rupees the manufacturer has claimed is the input tax credit. The next article is Cabinet approves the phase 2 of Rooftop Solar Program. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of infrastructure, and the subtopic here is energy related infrastructure. So from this article, let us see what is this Rooftop Solar Program. The central government has set up an ambitious target of producing 100 gigawatts of solar power by 2022. Out of this 100, 60 gigawatts of power has to be used from solar parks and ultra mega solar power projects, and whereas the other 40 gigawatts it has to be from the rooftop solar installations. So what is this rooftop solar? Rooftop solar installations are nothing but photovoltaic systems which will be installed on the roofs or buildings for generating electricity. They can be installed both on top of commercial buildings and also on top of residential complexes. This rooftop solar installations will help in providing an alternative, eco-friendly source of electricity without depleting our fossil fuels, and these installations will also help in increasing the grid supply in places where there are errors. And these rooftop solar installations are of immense help in the remote locations which were not yet connected to the grid supply. So what is the problem here? Why this rooftop solar is not widely adopted in the country? There are various reasons. One major reason is the solar energy generation, it depends on the variations in the supply of sunlight on any day, because to generate this solar energy we need sunlight, and the solar energy is not produced during night. In fact, the generation of solar energy will get distorted during monsoons, dusts and storms, and night is the time where the off-grid locations, they need alternative sources of electricity. We can say that yes, during the daytime we will store this solar energy and we'll use this energy in the night time. But the problem is the storage technology for electricity is not developed yet, and even these storage solutions are very expensive. We said that here these can be installed both on commercial buildings and also on residential. But if we take away these commercial establishments, it is very expensive for the residential customers to install these rooftop solar panels and storage facilities because they are very expensive. The next article is Standard Mediclaim Policy on the Cards, Guidelines to be Framed. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of governance, and the subtopic is issues related to health. From this article, here you can see about an organization known as Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India. What is this? It is an apex statutory body, it's not a constitutional body, to regulate and develop insurance industry in India. This was constituted as per the provisions of Insurance and Regulatory and Development Authority Act of 1999. The functions of this organization is to protect the rights of insurance policy holders and to provide registration certificate to the LIC companies, that is the life insurance companies, and to renew, modify, cancel or suspend the registration certificate, and to promote efficiency in the conduct of insurance business. And this organization is responsible for promoting and regulating the professional organizations which are all connected with insurance and reinsurance businesses. And it will also regulate the investment of funds by the insurance companies. Even what are the investments that were made by these insurance companies will also be regulated by this authority. And this authority will act as a quasi-judicial body because it will adjudicate the disputes between the insurance policy holders, that is the insurers, and the intermediaries or the insurance intermediaries. And the next thing that is mentioned here is AYUSH. What is this AYUSH? We know that India has a long history and culture which is running for over 5,000 years of using traditional medicines for healthcare and developing them with modern scientific outlook. This AYUSH is an acronym of traditional medical systems that are being practiced in India, such as, see this AYUSH. A indicates Ayurveda, Y indicates Yoga and Naturopathy, U indicates Unani, S for Siddha, and H for Homeopathy, which are collectively abbreviated as AYUSH. So what are the benefits of this AYUSH system? This AYUSH system will address the gaps in health services, and it will provide low cost services even in rural areas. This AYUSH can provide best care to the elderly, and the problem of tobacco and drug abuse can be tackled by AYUSH, especially through the concept of yoga. And this AYUSH, this medical system, is useful in lifestyle diseases like diabetes and hypertension. Large part of the population, they prefer AYUSH because it has lower side effects, costs, and they consider it because it is more natural. The next article is Aussie mammal, the first climate change extinction. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of environment. From this article, now we are going to see what are these coral reefs. Coral reefs are built by and made up of thousands of tiny animals known as coral polyps, and these animals are related to anemones and jellyfish. So from this coral polyps, coral means skeleton and polyp is the animal. These polyps are the shallow water organisms which have a soft body covered by a calcareous skeleton, that is the coral. These polyps can extract calcium salts from seawater in order to form these hard skeletons. Though they are the tiny creatures, very tiny creatures, they have the ability to extract and secrete calcium carbonate within their tiny cells, giving rise to a particular type of marine landforms. These landforms are popularly known as coral reefs. So just now we have seen that these coral reefs are built or made up of thousands of coral polyps. These polyps, they live in colonies on the rocky seafloor. The tubular skeletons, they grow upwards and outwards as cemented calcareous rocky mass, which are collectively known as corals, that is the skeletons. When the polyp dies, they shed their skeleton, that is the coral, on which a new polyp will grow. And this cycle will be repeated for over millions of years, leading to accumulation of layers of corals. That is, a shallow rock will be created by these depositions, and that rock is known as reef. And these layers at different stages, they'll give rise to variety of marine landforms, out of which one important landform is coral reef. These coral reefs, over a period of time, they will evolve or transform into coral islands. Example of a coral island is Lakshadweep Islands in India. These corals occur in different forms and colors depending upon the nature of salts they extract, because even small marine plants like algae, they also deposit calcium carbonate, contributing this coral growth. Here you can see these coral reefs which were having these tubular skeletons. They are growing upwards and outwards as cemented rocky mass, and these are collectively known as corals. The next article is Hyperloop dreams are taking shape in US and India. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of infrastructure. From this article, now we are going to see about this Hyperloop technology. What is this Hyperloop technology? It is a transportation system where a pod or container like vehicle travel at high speeds through a tube. It travels through a tube that has been pumped into a near vacuum. That means it is a pod-like vehicle which will propel through a near vacuum tube connecting cities at speeds matching to that of an aircraft. Here you can see this, the pod-like structure in a tube. This Hyperloop concept is a brainchild of Tesla founder Elon Musk, and this technology is considered as fifth mode of transportation because it is designed to transport passengers and also the freight. If we see how this operates, in this Hyperloop transportation, these pods are the containers. They will be zipped smoothly through these continuous steel tubes which are held at particular vacuum, and this pod will have the passenger's compartment between an air compressor up front, and in the rear it is supported by air caster skies at the bottom, which will float on a thin layer of air that is provided under high pressure, eliminating the rolling resistance and allowing the movement of these pods or containers at high speeds. So to put it simply, these train pods, these containers, they will either float using magnetic levitation technology, and these pods will be able to travel at immense speeds with an estimated speed of 1000 km per hour, and it is expected to be driverless. The proposed hyperloop route in India is, it will be connecting Mumbai and Pune in Maharashtra, and this system will cut the travel time between Mumbai and Pune to 25 minutes from the present 3 hours of time it takes by road. This Mumbai to Pune hyperloop is estimated to connect nearly 26 million people by supporting 150 million passenger trips per year, and it will reduce the greenhouse gas emissions by up to 86,000 tons for over 30 years. And it is expected that this project will have its operational systems in service by 2021. The advantages of this hyperloop technology means this system is fully autonomous and sealed, so no driver related error is anticipated. In a sealed environment with almost no air resistance, the pods or the containers, they will reach very high speeds, and it will not involve any contact. The motion will not involve any contact, so the vehicle will be virtually noiseless. The capital and the operational costs of this hyperloop technology will be 2/3 of that of a high-speed rail. So even here there is a cost cutting, and the tunnels for this hyperloop will be built either above or below the ground by taking up smaller ground footprint than traditional rail and road construction. And the most important thing about this technology is from where it drives its energy. What are its sources? It is solar or wind. Whichever source is available, the system will take it, and it is carbon free. The next article is New Universe Map Unveils 3 lakh more galaxies. This article comes under GS Paper 3 under the topic of Science and Technology. In this article, we can see about a telescope known as LOFAR telescope. What is it? This telescope can detect light sources which even the optical instruments cannot find. Now let's see our today's prelims questions. The first question is related to the National Electronics Policy of 2019. The next one is related to coral reefs. Try to answer these questions and post your answers in the comment box. Tomorrow we'll see a detailed explanation for these two questions. And this is our Law Excellence website where you can access the notes for this video, and this is our official Telegram channel where you can access the notes and various other Law Excellence material in this group. Thank you.